Peter Pan and Wendy. People have had a lot to say about Peter Pan and Wendy over the last week or two. Disney got sick of it. Disney's like, you know what? We're done.
Why even have the comments on in the first place?
I know, right?
If your plan and your genius marketing plan is to turn them off.
Listen, but do you see the bots?
Yeah. Oh, but were they bots? Or were people
Wait, what are you talking about?
Not everyone responds. So, okay, so let me pull up Slack.
Yeah, it was like basically a bunch of like it was all the comments that were like
Every
I love
single
the part
comment,
where
every single comment started with I love the part where X.
Okay, but the problem with that, like claiming that those are bots, is every one of those comments in that format were coming up with different Star Wars and Marvel references to insert into.
Yeah, they weren't. It wasn't like
they
I
were
was reading
actually
the same
unique
ones over.
things
Yeah.
that an AI could not have come up with.
What do you mean? Yes, it can.
It's the context from.
It's so easy.
They're taking lines from Star Wars and Marvel content,
More than just
making
that,
a joke because it's all part of Disney, and Disney wants to make it like a cinematic universe.
You think it's a troll?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
all of them were trolling
It was all
comments.
people
You're
trolling.
really aging out of this whole social media thing, Dane. I don't know what happened to you, but Brett's older than you and he gets it. So
I mean, I just assumed it was people who like that.
Brett
that's just
agreed.
they're not bots.
You're a bot.
What?
Whoa.
Okay, you're shilling for Disney. You're a bot. You're a Disney shill bot.
The point is now, though, that Disney has had enough, and they're like, you know what, we're done. We're censoring this. We're not allowing you to have an
I
opinion
liked this
on this.
one. I went to the IGN trailer instead of the Walt Disney Studios one, and the comments are still on, obviously. And one said, the part where Peter turned into a girl and said, "We're now the lost thems," made me cry uncontrollably. Best movie of all time.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
The part where Captain Hook tells Peter, "I am your father," and to join him to the dark side still gives me chills.
So why do you think that Disney would do something like this when they know that so many people are going to get annoyed with your changes in casting, with your drab color palettes, and with making all these mistakes? What could it possibly be beyond just the message that they would do something like this? Well, I would say that it probably has something to do with the California bill that they were talking about in this article. So this is from Bounding Into Comics, and it says, California proposes withholding new tax credits from Hollywood productions unless they set ethnic, racial, and gender diversity goals to develop a plan to achieve them. So does that not fit in right along the lines of like, look, we could make this close to the source material, but why would we do that when there's so much to be gained from making these changes? First of all, they follow Disney's business model, which is envision tomorrow, or it was reimagine tomorrow. But then it falls in line with this. So it says this was a bill in 2022, and we had talked about it slightly.
Yeah.
But there's more detail about it. So it says, so SB 485, which revises the state's film tax credits legislation to introduce a new credit which they could only receive if a given project provided a diversity work plan that includes goals that are broadly reflective of California's population. Do you think that has anything to do with the casting in this movie?
Well, I think it's absurd that California legislation would then translate to the rest of the country. This is the quotas that they come up with for racial and ethnic diversity are based on the population of California.
Though most of the shows...
Not the population of the nation, which is consuming media that comes almost strictly out of California.
And the shows don't just take place in California. How do you make Yellowstone if everybody has to look like somebody in California?
Yeah, everything that's set outside of California, that is even filmed outside of California, but is done by Californian studios, is supposed to reflect the diversity, the racial diversity of California. Like, I mean, I don't even know if that translates, because I mean, I guess that's why Peter Pan is Mexican now, but like,
and why The Little Mermaid is no longer Danish. It was Danish.
Well, what really matters is that she was a redhead.
Yes. Oh God, I have been watching this amazing show called Into the Badlands, and holy crap, the character the widow in this show, she's not just redheaded representation. She just murks dudes left and right. So people are they're actively attempting to commit gingercide on camera. And she just puts a sword through just tons of people. It's incredible. Everyone should be watching that show right now. That is Brett Recommends for today.
Okay.
Into the Badlands.
Saw you posting a lot about it.
Oh man, I was like, I was going off this weekend about like it's. Imagine like a world where like 90% of the show is action, so you don't have to actually like the story leaves a lot to be desired. Like it's kind of paint by numbers generic. It's got like a couple of like gimmicks, like the idea that it's a dystopian future, but there are no guns. There's like most of the people ride horses, but there's also like broken down cars that people can still drive. So it's got this weird feel to it. But
is it diverse?
It is, but it's like, but it feels right in the context of this show. Like for instance, the Baron that the lead character works for, there is it's not as diverse as other places, but it's fairly diverse in racial terms. But then the warriors that work for the widow are all girls. But it makes sense because she's raising female warriors. So they are able to do both, but it's like it wouldn't have made sense if the Baron Quinn had a bunch of women in his guard, because he just doesn't seem like a dude who would employ women or would even see them as a threat, right? But it makes sense that the widow, who is a female warrior, would train them in that way. So that's what I'm saying. It can be done properly. Think about how does this work, and they make it work. But most TV today doesn't do that. So
thinking about like Peter Pan specifically, it just doesn't make sense that it would be set in the late 19th century, right? And in England, and it's this like diverse cast of people who are like Black and Mexican and like Asian and all of these different races.
But that's why Disney's shutting off the comments, because pointing it out is bad.
I mean, it's like also using these people of different races as your vector to attack.
Yeah.
In like this culture war, they're being used as the weapon of
cannon fodder.
Choice.
Like
your cannon fodder and outrage marketing, which I'm sure they didn't ask for. I mean, most of them are children, so they're probably, being used as show ponies by their parents anyway.
Do you think that those kids understand the gravity of just how much like they're being dragged into this?
No.
They're the kids being like recorded by their parents for like to like cry in front of movie trailers, just like this one.
Yeah. So you think like but do you think the parents know? Like okay, think about it this way. Like we're like fairly caught up in what you would call the culture war, right? So you take for granted sometimes that you pay attention to things that a lot of other people, like normies, might not pay attention to. I do have friends who don't know that so much of this stuff is going on. They might notice it. Like I had a friend point out, he's like, I swear to God, everyone's gay in commercials these days. He's like and everyone's
gay, and every
race
couple is mixed race.
So he said like he noticed that, but he's not like someone that I would think of as being like in tune to the culture war, right? So do you think that a normie parent who just wants to get their kid a job in Hollywood because their kid wants to be an actor is aware of all this, if all of this stuff is going on?
I'm sure they're aware that their kid has an advantage in Hollywood.
Yeah, well,
based off of their race.
At the very least,
it's not just Hollywood either. It's also academia. Yeah. So like, you wonder why all these people in academia are like found out to be transracial or whatever, right? Like there are all of these white women in academia pretending that they're Black by getting like spray tans and perms and stuff. And they are doing so because their dying industry, just like the entertainment industry, is operating on a completely different rubric to the rest of society. Yeah. So by taking on that identity, they know it gives them more power.
Yeah. And another thing you could think of is like, at the very least, agents are probably coming to them and saying like, look, your ethnic makeup is very, very in right now. You can get you will get a lot of work if you enter this industry right now. Like you have to know that there's agents.
You have like even the most like serviceable level of talent, you know?
Yeah. Listen, like you will be hired based on what you look like now, not whether you're good enough for the role or not, which is, like I said, does a disservice to the young actors, right? Like
not really, it gives them more money.
But I'm saying it does a disservice because they're going to be judged harshly when they didn't ask for that.
It does do a disservice, definitely, because should Halle Bailey have been in any other movie?
Well, Halle Bailey's an established talent already. She's already a
knock
Disney
on 10
kid and a singer.
knock on 10 doors and ask if they know who Halle Bailey is, and they're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, Halle Berry."
Their kids will know. Don't you think the kids would know?
I knew of her because of her R&B music,
her
but
music.
like, I don't know.
What I'm saying is,
a household name.
she could have reached the next level of stardom. I think like truly household, multi-generational name recognition, had they not put her as the star of a Pender movie.
I mean, like, but only so many people are going to get to that level of stardom anyways, right?
But her voice is incredible,
Yeah.
and she's good looking. So I mean, she's got all the elements for it.
Maybe
but
she goes to Broadway eventually.
Well, Rachel Zegler is on that way
Is she?
as well.
To Broadway?
I mean, she's from that.
She came from Broadway.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's a singer.
Yeah.
And she's playing Snow White, despite the fact that she's not Snow White. I just think like we're kind of overplaying the way that this is a disservice to minorities, and we're underplaying the way that this is a massive FU to white people.
Oh, I don't think we're underplaying.
like,
I think we talk
this
about
is
that plenty here.
99% F white people from them. That's the tone of all of these decisions. Especially
and
when,
tax breaks. And tax breaks.
But the tax breaks are based off of legislators' decisions that are basically F white people.
And like I said, if people wonder where the incentive comes from. So like the activists in the production department, the activists who are in the hiring department, the people who are working as casting directors, right? They might have activists there. You might have activists directors. You might have activists actors, but then you have to wonder, like, how does it get through? Well, that's because even if the money people, who are probably not activists, money people want to make money, are incentivized financially, that's how you get the next step of that accomplished. You make it financially beneficial for them to hire on activist principles.
Well, it's more of like a penalty if you don't.
Yeah. Yep.
Listen, my thing
even
is
an incentive.
If actors don't want to comment on this and be like, hey, this is kind of messed up, like, I don't care then.
Yeah.
Just lose all your jobs. What do I care for?
Yeah, the kids are unfairly, I guess, being opened up to a lot of criticism from the public, but I don't think that they're even the ones getting criticized. They're being used as human shields by the executives.
People are criticizing Disney as a whole, not the actors per se. Like, I haven't heard I don't even know the name of the kid playing Peter Pan. And I haven't heard.
That's the thing. He's totally irrelevant to the project. As well as Yara Shahidi playing Tinkerbell. These people are totally irrelevant to what's more important to Disney, which is the message. We're using this as the vehicle for the message, and you're merely an accessory to that.
Yep. And I guess
it's beyond the message at this point. It's a game plan.
Yep.
Before this, I used to work in corporate America, and I was very, very, very explicit. By the way, in a company very dominated by Hispanic people that are not typically like woke liberal women, like they're just not.
They're not awfuls.
Yeah, but I was very explicitly told, it's like, hey, you do great work and we'll compensate you, but we will always like hire women over you. Like, you're like, enjoy this.
Enjoy what we're giving you, peasant.
Enjoy your spot in life, because this is where you get. But they were like,
and then what incentive do you have to perform higher if you know that you're going to be held at a double standard anyway? Like,
I mean, that's when you send a sassy email to Tim Pool and get hired.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm sure there were tons of white kids that auditioned to play Peter Pan, and there were tons of white girls that auditioned to play Tinkerbell here. But it's all for show, because they know that anyone who is not white has an advantage over them, and if they point it out, they're racist. And
the most annoying part is then for years the narrative will be spun that it's actually the opposite. And that's the
Yara
insidious
Shahidi
part.
earned her place, and that's what really colorblind casting looks like.
But not just that, but that she outdid that she outdid everyone else. That's even worse, because then they say you're both the bad person for thinking it goes the other way, well, provably being not true.
Yeah,
So.
it's unfalsifiable is
Yep.
the thing.
You
And
can't
like
prove it.
you're literally using this young mestizo child as your human shield for outrage marketing. Like,
Basically.
he's literally taking the bullets for you.
At
It's
least
actually gross.
At least Mindy Kaling is an adult who made the decision herself to do
Also,
that.
I wanted to read this other comment from the trailer. The part where Peter Pan said to Tinkerbell, "You want a line of pixie dust? All the trans kids are doing it." Sent shivers down my spine.
See, that no way an AI came
You
up with
can't
that.
silence people when they want to make funnies online.
I mean, I've been exposed as a out of touch boomer, and I accept it.
See, when I didn't think of it as bots as much as trolls, like as people who like now
Which
could
are
it,
not the same thing.
could it have been a bunch of people with like multiple accounts?
But a lot
Perhaps.
were positive. A lot were like,
What? I did
Yeah,
not see
I saw-
any positive.
I saw the negatives after you guys told me, but the ones that were in the top of my feed were all seemingly non-ironic. So maybe a bunch of people responded positively in that line, and then the internet had its way. It was like, okay, well, yuck your yum.
Fair enough. I thought it was very, very interesting how they turned the comments off like a week late, almost like a week
I mean,
later.
you know the reaction that you're about to get.
Yeah, like they should have just left him off to begin with. Then the dislikes and the turned off comments would have all gone into one story, and it would have been fine.
Did they
would have-
do this? Like, did they take a vote? Like, who wants to leave the comments on?
That's a very,
Say aye.
That's an interesting question. It would be interesting to figure
I just don't
out.
get
like,
this.
it would be interesting to figure out like who actually has the final say.
Yeah.
Like I'm guessing they don't call Bob Iger directly
No.
and say, "Hey, do you want us to turn the comments off?" Though that would be a funny conversation to happen.
Exactly.
Like Bob Iger, he's like in the middle of like some big meeting. He's like, "I don't freaking care. This movie's a write-off. It's freaking Disney Plus."
Like, I've never even heard of this
By the
one.
way, I have a theory as to why Disney and companies like Disney in particular just haven't taken the hit that this shit isn't popular.
Mm-hmm.
I think that those companies, they plan so far ahead that a movie like this was already like the budget and the script and everything was set out like 5 years ago, and it'll be like 2 years and they'll be like, oh, this doesn't, as the kids say, doesn't slap anymore.
It's possible. I mean, I don't know about
This
5
doesn't
years, but
bust
yeah, yeah, it's no longer busting. Like,
No longer bussin'.
I mean, that's what happens when you have a company the size of Disney, which is just basically it's like a Titanic. You can't just It's not. It's
can't
not
steer
agile.
that, yeah.
It's not agile. So yep.
Gentlemen, it seems that we're cap currently.
But yeah, but then Warner Brothers is like, hold my beer. I'm just gonna cancel this $90 million movie just because I don't want people to see it. Imagine if Bob Iger was like, look, I looked at the first cut of that Tinkerbell movie and just, oh no, we are relegating that one to the halls of Disney. We are not letting that one out of our sight.
Dude, that's why my tinfoil hat Dane here. That's why my conspiracy theory is like, what if the Batgirl movie was that it was just so based? It was like based out of recognition. They're like, this is unwatchable.
No, there was actually an article that came out today that says that Zaslav, like they've restructured their corporate headquarters, like their corporate hierarchy, so that like incentives, like bonuses for executives, are based on how much how much of the budget they slash and save. So he gets a bonus based on how much he cuts out of the budget. So I think he's just like,
Well, what the hell is this Lord of the Rings shit then?
Late stage
That's not gonna make money.
capitalism.
I know, it is basically late stage capitalism. Good for Zaslav. Make your money, King. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.